This podcast is not a source of legal advice. No two legal cases are the same. Contact an attorney if you require legal assistance.
The breath test, you can't have electronics in the room, right? You have to observe somebody for 20 minutes. And the reason why you have to observe somebody for 20 minutes is they might MERP. My motto is, a joke is not good unless it's bad. Explain to Tom
that
you
is
can't MERP.
bad. Yeah.
You're not allowed to MERP, Tom.
Today on the Mighty MERP podcast, I'm honored to be joined by Peter Lederman, an attorney whose career has helped shape DWI defense and municipal court practice in New Jersey for more than 5 decades. For the past 35 years, Peter's practice has been exclusively devoted to representing individuals charged with driving while intoxicated and related municipal court offenses, having defended more than 4,000 clients across the state. He is certified by the New Jersey Supreme Court as a municipal court trial attorney, a designation that reflects the highest level of competence in that area. Peter is not only a courtroom advocate, but a thought leader and institutional voice in municipal court law. He has argued before the New Jersey Supreme Court, testified before the legislature on DWI issues, served as chair of the New Jersey State Bar Association Municipal Court Committee, and currently chairs the Middlesex County Bar Association Ad Hoc Committee on Municipal Court Reform. He also has played a role in landmark cases such as State v. Chun and State v. Foley, cases that fundamentally shaped how Alka-Test evidence is used in New Jersey courts. Today's conversation is about his career, built on focus, credibility, and reform, what Peter has seen change, what hasn't, and what lawyers, judges, and policymakers still need to confront when it comes to DWI enforcement and municipal court justice. Welcome.
I am overwhelmed by such a nice introduction. By the way, you said I'm certified. My wife says I've been certifiable for a long time, so that's very consistent.
Well, it's good because now you have 2 verifications of that being certified.
No question about it.
So the fact
How are
that
you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been, running around from court to court, the life of a criminal defense attorney.
As we do, yeah. I just got back myself a few minutes ago.
Just in time.
Inhaled my lunch, did a virtual before that, dealt with an unruly judge.
Did you help make that judge less unruly?
I tried my best, but it's very difficult. She is very difficult.
I'm going to ask. I'm not even starting with my questions. I really do want to ask this question.
That was my plan. I want to interview you. See, I want to get you off your out of your rhythm by asking you questions.
Oh, that's so funny.
Well, but it's a great tactic. It's
We'll see how it ends in the end. Who asks more questions?
We will see.
But
yes.
When you have an unruly judge, based on the fact of your experience and your years practicing, I think you've been practicing since 70.
By the way, don't exaggerate that, okay? I mean, it's a big number, but you don't have to.
It's actually more than 5 decades if you were practicing since 1974.
Please, just stop. There's a technological problem with it. Oh, it's there again. Okay.
So how do you handle a judge that is being unruly, probably, and I say this, I'm going to say that probably isn't as knowledgeable about the subject as you are. And I know you're always professional in court. How do you feel like not losing your cool that doesn't help anyone in court?
So you know what you should do, but what you do is sometimes different from what you should do. So I was really lucky when I was a kid. I spent my entire summers at the Jersey Shore. Mm-hmm. Now, I did get problems that developed later on with my skin, things like that, which they didn't know about back then. But, you did learn things. I love the ocean and all that stuff. And you learn at a young age.
That was the olden days in the 1900s.
It was before that, actually, my friend. So, but you learned at a young age, if there's a big wave that's coming, it's always better to duck the wave, not to try it out. Because if you have a judge that's irrationally difficult, it's better to duck the wave. Now, it's easy to say that. It's hard to do that because every cell in your body wants to say, no, that's not right. And it's somewhere between there. And sometimes you do what you think you should do and you want to do and you know you should do. And other times you do what you do. So, it's hard sometimes.
Did you behave today?
I did. I did behave. I got one case dismissed, so that was a good thing. And maybe the other one also. So, but I did get some, and this judge may watch this someday. So there was a little in between, but it's a good judge.
Right.
But it happens. There's some real bad judges out there. There's some terrible judges out there. Judges who shouldn't be doing what they do, who seem to have issues, and the robes empower them to have those worst instincts, those worst angels.
What do
percolate
you
up
think
through them.
makes a bad judge, and what makes a good judge in your mind?
So you want to have a chance to communicate with the judge. You want to be able to say what you think you have to say, what you know you have to say on behalf of your client. A bad judge won't do it. It's a boxing match with the judge. And so you don't have that opportunity to try to persuade.
Mhm.
And it's all about persuasion. That was one of my later in life realizations. It's about persuasion more than it's about the law. So I can't persuade with somebody who I'm having a boxing match with in court.
Right? Nobody's listening at that point, right?
No, we're exchanging blows. So yeah, that's not fun. And it's and the judge is supposed to be a judge. The judge is supposed to be sitting there and listening and administering and processing and not fighting with you.
Mhm.
And it seems like some judges are adversarial when the bell rings, to share that boxing
Metaphor.
expression.
Do you think
Yeah.
it's because and so when we're talking about judges right now, I'm assuming you're talking about municipal court judges, since
Yes.
most of the work that you're doing, or all of the work that you're doing now, is DWI. Um, so I'm not sure how often you're in Superior Court, where I kind of jump back and forth. But I find that a lot of the municipal court judges are coming from the prosecutor's side. So they were the town's prosecutor for X amount of years, and then they're taking the bench. So do you think they're still keeping that adversarial role, or
There's no question that some judges, if you pulled the robes back, there's a yellow stripe that goes down their pants. There's just no question about that. But no, I think a lot of judges are really good. A lot of
Mhm.
judges are good. A lot of judges do come from, listen, municipal court world is a strange world. How people become judges there is mostly not from merit. It's a political appointment. And politics is, it's something different from, uh, trying to become a superior court judge. There's politics in that also, but there's also reviews, evaluation, JPAC, and all that stuff. We had zero in municipal court. And there
Right.
are
There's
some judges, there are some
there's
judges who are abusive and not just adversarial, but they're not good judges. They're not good
right.
judges. So
Right. Well, municipal court, I always find difficult if you have a judge like that, because as I say to my clients often, the judge is hired by the same people that hire the police officers in the town, right?
it's
So
more than that. They're paid by them.
and they're paid,
Yes,
and they're paid by the same individuals that pay the prosecutor's salary as well. So it does seem like they're all on the same team.
let's not forget the
Um,
public defender, right?
Correct. Um, and then I would say that, I say to my clients a lot in municipal court, if we're going to go to trial on cases in municipal court, they have to be willing to let me create a record, because I don't necessarily think we're going to win it in municipal court. And they have to be able to accept that it's a two-step process at minimum,
Yeah.
that I'm going to create a record so that we can appeal it and be more successful in Superior Court.
But that requires a good judge at the superior court level.
Mm-hmm.
So in some counties, we have judges that had denied, guilty, 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 guilty. that second step is a procedural step, but in reality, it's not a functional step to get to where you want to get to. And of course, if you get to the appellate division, it gets even worse the higher you get. So, although the Supreme Court has shown some willingness to listen lately, that's refreshing. I believe the point of contact is really going to be the prosecutor. I don't think you want to get to trial. I think if you get to trial, you've given up control over the case because now somebody else is going to decide. You know that story about you should win but you lose, or you should lose but you win. I don't want to be in that position. I want to identify the goal with the client and obtain that goal with the prosecutor. More times than and we develop relationships from people with people we work with, and if they know who you are and if they trust you, if you have credibility, if they know you're going to litigate, if there was a trial, if there was going to be a trial, you will get to most of the time, almost every time, the result that you want to get to without the trial.
Right.
My philosophy is going to be resolve the case at the prosecutorial level. Don't try not to get farther. But if you have to, I tell my clients, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. And I have to tell a funny story about that.
I was going to say, but they don't know what you're talking about,
I
do
know,
they?
that's horrible. I did a presentation at the bar convention about municipal court, and a question was asked to me. There were a lot of people in the room, and the question was asked to me, do you try all your cases? And I said, no. I told them what I just told you, that I want to resolve it based on my negotiation with the prosecutor. But I said, I do love the smell of napalm in the morning. I think that's a great line. 20% of the people laughed. 80% looked at each other and went, did he drink too much coffee, or was he up all last night?
Yeah.
A terrible thing about being fortunate enough to survive a long time is that culture passes you by.
Yeah.
Some people know who the Rolling Stones are, but not a lot of people.
They know. No, I'm going to beg to differ with you on that. I mean, I have kids in their 20s, and they definitely know who the Rolling Stones are.
Some kids understand what classic rock really means. But I was talking to someone last night, so I go to adult fitness classes, workouts. And the guy who was running the class said, okay, we're going to have some classic rock. And he played something from the Talking Heads, or, I said, that's not classic rock.
You said that's the 80s. That's not true classic rock.
Yeah, that's not classic rock. So,
right.
So the same thing's true for movies. All the things that I've learned, funny things to say and stuff like that. I say it now, well, hopefully funny things. I say it now and people don't have any idea what I'm saying. And they go, oh, it's too bad. He's losing his mind.
Yeah, no, they just don't understand your cultural references.
No,
anymore.
They don't.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, you've had a pretty long legal career, and I say that because I've been practicing.
There you go again.
Well,
you keep harping on that. It's like you're trying to pull me down, but you can't. I'm strong and
you're
I'm
strong
proud
and powerful. So I've been practicing 30 years, Peter. And
you admit it.
And I will admit that. So my first question is,
you are the youngest person ever to go to law school. Is that true?
That is, I was a child
prodigy.
prodigy. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, did you know that you were interested in defense work in law school? How did you end up in the end, in a very niche area of law? It's a specialty, that you are an expert in.
I'm proud to tell clients that I am a one-trick pony. It's true, but I am proud of it. So I think one of the exciting, and I think a lot of, and I hate to talk about young people, that, anybody younger than me is not a young person, but I'm talking about people in their formative years. You hear people talk about it on television. They don't have careers. They don't have hope. They don't think they can succeed. I see in a lot of my clients, and I was talking to another attorney about this in court today. They don't believe that they can succeed. They're abusing alcohol and meds and other things because they have no hope. Believe it, that's something that I can't imagine. That's I always thought that we had a reunion. Believe it or not, I still have living classmates, but we had a reunion, and we went around this very small circle of people, and we were all supposed to say something, and I said that my wife says that I'm unrationally optimistic or irrationally optimistic. I am.
Mhm.
That's who I am. These people are not optimistic. I don't know
I
what made them this way. Somebody told me, well, it's being on the internet all the time. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, and I tell this to them, even, when I get them, and probably when you get them too, but when I get them, they're at the bottom of the curve.
yeah.
They've hopefully bottomed out. And I tell them, all right, can I say bad words like shit? Am I allowed to say shit?
You are allowed to say anything you
Okay.
want. We
I
believe in
want
the first.
permission. I
We
didn't want,
believe in the First Amendment
yes.
here.
Okay.
So
I did not want to foul your pristine podcast. So, um, I tell kids, work your way back, figure it out. If something doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else, but just be persistent. Don't give
Mhm.
up. You'll get there, but you might not be so sure. So in a long-winded way, that's what happened to me.
Mhm.
I'm long-winded all the time. So, um, that's why law is a good profession for me, because you need wind, right? You have to have lots of wind.
Right. Do you say things like, Your Honor, briefly, and they know you're
Yeah,
not going to be brief
they go
at
like this.
all?
Yes. So what happened to me was, so I went to school, um, during a time when we were not career driven. Like the kids today, when they're 15 years old, they know they want to be barons of Wall Street. They want to have $20 million houses and $50 million boats and, private jets and all that stuff. I didn't care. My
Mhm.
friends really didn't care. This is a different time. There was some, what we called then, social awareness. Focus was different, not focus on how much money you can make. And I'm not bragging about my generation or anything else, but it was different. So and law school was not expensive.
Mhm.
And so I could go to law school and go on with what I tried to do in college, which was sort of figure things out. So I found something in law school that I thought was interesting, which has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now. My area of specialty was New Jersey closely held corporations, right?
Mhm.
My professor had written the book, the whole thing. I was ready to do shareholder agreements and buy-sell agreements, and it's like we do in municipal court all the time, right?
Oh yeah, very
Yes,
contract heavy.
very contract heavy. So I literally started practicing by hanging out a shingle.
Mm.
I
That's
still have
crazy.
I
That's
still have the
crazy in
shingle.
my mind. As
It
somebody
is.
who was told for years to hang out my own shingle, and
Yes,
I had so much fear doing it because my income was so essential, and I had 4 kids, and I was so scared, and I literally was like, I describe it as like hanging off a cliff, and everyone's saying like, fly, fly, and then like pulling my fingers back, and then I had to fly. And
that's right.
7 years later, and I was a partner in another law firm. 7 years later, I think, "Ugh, I should have opened up my law firm earlier," but I just was not brave. So when you say I just hung out the shingle, I don't is that a man thing? I wonder if that is. I have to
What?
think about it. That
What does that
that
have to do
con
with anything?
that confidence of like being like,
No.
I can figure this out.
Recall, I used the term irrationally optimistic.
That true. That
But
too.
the other thing was, at the time, I really had no expenses. I mean, I had an old, rusting out Volkswagen convertible
Mhm.
with 5 on the floor. Um, I was sharing an apartment with another guy. Um, I wasn't aspiring to go on vacations to the Caribbean or Europe, or I was sort of happy and, just sort of day by day kind of thing. And, so I hung out a shingle. I still have the piece of wood with my name on it.
Mhm.
And, my first year I grossed $10,500. Um, gross.
I'm not trying to be mean when I say this.
What?
I'm assuming that wasn't a very good year, but
No, it was terrible. I mean, but somehow I got by. And then the next thing that happened that was a life-changing event was I met my wife. And
Mhm.
I then, using all of my lawyerly skills, persuaded her to share a residence with me,
Mhm.
to the horror of my grandfather. He said I couldn't do it because that was, what was the word he used?
Are you living in sin? That sort of thing?
Yeah, but the way he described it, he got the wrong sin. But there's something really crazy. But I really love my grandfather. But I knew this is what I wanted to do, and yet we still had no money. You know, we didn't know how to pay the rent. We rented a little place, a bungalow, and didn't know how to do it. But I, put the shovel out there and I worked. The only thing I
Right.
could do, and uh, so I was building up a practice, and ultimately we could afford to pay the gas bill and put gasoline in the car and put food on the table.
And at that
Yeah,
time, were you a jack of all trades?
yeah, yeah. I was doing real estate closings, and yeah, I was doing everything, and I was unhappy
Mhm.
because I wasn't really good at anything. I was sort of good at doing real estate transactions, but I was doing everything. I was doing PI, I was doing med mal, I was doing crazy stuff. I
Mhm.
mean,
It was
because I
whoever
was,
walked through the door. They walked
yeah,
in, you were like,
yes,
"I'm
I
your
still don't,
lawyer.
yes,
I can do that."
I still don't understand workers' compensation, but yeah, I did that too. Um, I did that for about 5 years, and then I got a phone call, the bolt from the blue. It
Mhm.
was the mayor of Piscataway. That's where my office was. Didn't know the guy. He didn't know me. If I had if he had done more of a background search, he would have found that my family was deeply rooted in the other political party that he was. But he said, "Do you want to be a prosecutor?"
Mhm.
And to be totally honest with you, I had no idea what a prosecutor did. Absolutely no idea.
But you did
And
know it was a guaranteed salary, guaranteed,
no, no,
not a full salary, but it's guaranteed money coming in.
yeah, 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 yeah. But it sounded cool, so I said, "Okay, I'll do it." Is this time for a drink? What's in your? I've got vodka in mine, so but I'm not driving tonight.
I
Mm,
have like a strawberry lemonade in my water bottle.
the
No
same
vodka,
the
no
water bottle,
vodka.
not vodka. Okay, so
No.
I took the job, and I remember the first day I got a stack of tickets. It was a very busy court. I had 5 jurisdictions. I mean, 5 police departments. State police, state highway went through town. Rutgers University Police, the University of Medicine Dentistry Police, Park Police, and then it was like a 40, 50 square mile township. It's a big town. So I was, a lot of stuff. And my first stack of tickets was, more than an inch thick. And they just popped it. And at the bottom of the stack was a 10, 12 DWIs.
Mhm.
And something about it just fascinated me. I don't know why. It could have been some contact I had with alcoholism somewhere in people very close to me.
Mhm.
Could have been part of it. Uh, I didn't think about it like that, but it just was. I found it fascinating, and I started to get good at it. And then I was getting my feet under me. You know what that's like, right?
Mhm.
Feeling comfortable on your feet and feeling strong on your feet. You know, and I liked it.
Right.
I
And you
liked
can
trying to
really
hit.
only get that when you're in court. All the,
Yes,
that's the way you really gain that muscle.
yes.
And I tell all young attorneys, if they say they want to be trial attorneys, and that they should go to either a public defender's office or a prosecutor's office, because it's the only way to really learn and get comfortable in court like that.
Before the epidemic, you could go to court and watch what other lawyers did.
Hmm.
Not so much now with the
Right.
virtual court. You could learn by watching others, but I had to learn by doing.
Hmm.
And um, I lasted as a municipal prosecutor for a few years. I did not make the people who put me in office happy with my showing my gratitude. Is that a nice way of saying it?
Yes, it
You know
is
what
a
I'm saying?
very politically
You know what
correct
I'm saying?
way of saying it. You didn't burn
Yeah.
any bridges there. That was like the best
No,
way.
no. So they invited somebody else who was more willing to ingratiate them than I was. Um, but I had um, gotten the bug had bitten me, and I knew I wanted to be back because I had gotten pretty good at it, and I was up on all the law from, dealing with it. My court was a very busy court. We would start at 9 in the morning and go to 11 o'clock at night.
Hmm.
The whole afternoon would be DWI cases, starting at 11 o'clock and going until we finished. And then we do a night session after that the same day. So yeah, I started getting good at it. I started learning about the cases, uh, but I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I started building a practice and getting a reputation, and I ended up doing it. That became my career. So, I mean, I was at a point in my life where there were times when I wasn't even sure I wanted to practice law. That was before I met Mary Beth and had kids and all that stuff. But because I wasn't that into it, I have to be honest with you. It didn't really. There was no fire in my belly. But when I started doing the DWI stuff, the fire started in my belly. I just
So
kept going.
just to let you know, when you said you didn't enjoy it, it's actually
No,
advice that I give to young lawyers is that if you're not doing the right area of law, like what excites you will be miserable as an attorney. And you said it. You were just taking anything. You were a jack of all trades. So,
but I was happy to support my family too. So that wasn't a horrible thing.
right.
But yeah,
I
listen, I learned stuff doing the other stuff that somehow helps me in my DWI cases. That's that's one of the takeaways. It's not if I had just done DWI from the start, I wouldn't have had that other knowledge which helps me.
right.
The other thing that's really interesting, I wanted to note, I wrote an article for the Law Journal, Advice to Young Lawyers, and the first thing that I said, don't do it unless you love it. Make sure you
Right.
have passion for it, and that's the most important thing. One day, about 20 years ago, I got a phone call from my youngest daughter. She graduated college, and both of my daughters were English majors. My oldest daughter works for a large corporation for doing internal communications. Very good. The other one came out and started doing that type of work. She wasn't happy. She calls me up at the office. I still remember it was a Friday afternoon. I remember sitting at my desk, and she said to me, "Daddy, I think I want to go to law school." And without thinking about it, the first words out of my mouth were, "Don't do it unless you love it."
Mhm.
And then she said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And I said, "Get a job in a law office, see what lawyers do, see how they fight with each other. They fight with the clients, they fight with the courts. And if that's what you want to do, go to law school." So yes, you got to love it. And I did not have that love for it at first. And then um, I was lucky. I was lucky. I found something I love to do that if I spent the time doing it, I'd miss it from my family or my other pursuits. But if I had to do it to support my family, I would love doing it. And I did love it. I still love
Right.
it. So I still do it.
Well, I think that that's what happens when I know lawyers that are not happy with being lawyers, it's because they are in an area of law that they know so well. They're not willing to change or do something different, but they're making enough money to support their family. So for them,
Yeah,
it really is a job. I think what I do as a criminal defense attorney, I think like because I'm dealing with people's lives and their freedom, I think if you're not passionate about it, you can't be good at it. I really like my clients. I really like what I do. I like being in court. And I think I'm effective because of that. I can't imagine hating what I do and being able to represent my clients as effectively.
I agree. For a lot of people, it's transactional. You know, we would refer to it as throwing your client under the bus. But I get paid. Okay, I'll argue. I'll do. Okay, this is the best I can do. This is all done. Uh, for you and for me, it's more than that. I get tremendous satisfaction helping people.
Yeah. It's a
I
great
get
feeling. I had someone today call me And I'm calling January expungement month. I think that
Mhm.
the new year came and a lot of people are like, you know what, I want to get things off my record. I've handled a lot of calls, but I talked to a client today and just talking to him about the expungement process and what I could do. And I was telling him my fees and he said at the end, he said, "You are the only lawyer that I love." And I was thinking that that's like a great feeling that, most people go, "Ugh, lawyers," and, to get that reaction. Um, so I'm
So
going to
let me ask
ask,
you a question. Let me ask you a question. How did
yes,
you get to do what you're doing? I mean, I know there are women that go into prosecuting, some very good, excellent women trial lawyers that prosecute, but it's down and dirty too, right?
right. So I
Why?
never ended up doing any prosecuting. I did go to law school thinking that I wanted to work for a district attorney or prosecutor's office, and I was um, very interested in being in violent crimes against women and children sort of idea of prosecuting. Um, so I went to law school. I had a aunt who um, was an attorney in Texas, and she was amazing and she's brilliant and funny. And I just, she inspired me. She was started out as a U.S. attorney and then is a federal defense attorney now. And so she inspired me, and I went to law school and I interviewed my first year with the district attorney's office in Philadelphia. And I was in the interview and I was being asked questions about what I would do if the victim of a sexual assault did not want to proceed on a case.
Hmm.
And if she didn't testify, the defendant would go free. And I knew I was answering the question the way, like, completely incorrect to what the person interviewing wanted me to say. They wanted me to say I would get a material witness warrant and bring that person in and they would have to testify. And I didn't understand that that was the answer, but I knew my answer was wrong, which is if this woman who's a victim of that crime doesn't want to proceed, then forcing her to proceed would be wrong. It would be, causing her to have more trauma. And the person interviewing me, who was a district attorney, kept trying to like have me change my answer, and it didn't work. And I walked out of that meeting, and the one thing I did know is that I was not meant to be a prosecutor or a district
Mm,
attorney. And all my friends knew. They said, "You're a defense attorney." And I ended up at the public defender's office in Philly for the first 6 years of my career. And it was the perfect fit for me. I learned so much. It was the best learning experience, more than any law school, any class. Just I was in court every day, and they really taught you to be a trial attorney while you were there. It took about 2 years for you to even be offered a jury trial, while you were learning to handle bench trials and juvenile trials and preliminary hearings. So, um, I mean, that's how I ended up doing criminal defense. I never thought I was going to do private criminal defense. But my husband and I at the time had 4 kids in 4 years. And I stayed home after the fourth one and taught at Rowan University in their law and justice department. And when my youngest was starting kindergarten, um, Barry was a teacher. And he said, one of us can make money and one of us really can't make money, beyond, what the salary is. And so I went back to work, and it really was supposed to be a job when I went back, writing briefs, and I loved it. I fell in love with it a second time in a way that I never expected. And um, I didn't realize that private practice could be more rewarding than even being at a public defender's office. And that's really, I've been practicing now privately about 16, 17 years, and so thankful. I went back, but went back begrudgingly initially. Went back like just because we needed the money financially, and it worked out to be, just an overall amazing experience on so many levels. So, yeah.
I taught at Rutgers also. Did you know that?
I did not. Rutgers, New Brunswick or
Mhm.
Rutgers? Yeah. So I taught at Delaware Law School. We have a lot in common like that. Delaware Law School, Stockton, and Rowan. But I have promised my staff that I will not take any teaching courses ever again.
You don't need teaching courses. You know what to do when you stand in front of them. It's communication. It's passing on what you know.
I
Right?
know, but I taught the last 2 semesters in the spring and the fall, and my staff was like, "You have to stop," trying to arrange my schedule and my court
Yeah.
appearances. They were like, "You have to stop,"
Well, I
you
love,
know?
I love, I don't want to call it teaching. I love presenting. I
Mm.
love being able to, like I'm doing right now, just sort of share my thoughts and my opinions. I really enjoyed what happened was I had graduated law school, hadn't passed the bar yet. And I had this crazy idea of being an irrational optimist. I walked into the the business department at Rutgers, just walked off the street. And she said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'd like to teach." And she said,
It's
"Well,
great.
the chair, it's true. The chairman is there. The chairman of the department's here. Would you like to meet him?" I said, "Sure." He comes out. He said, "Well, I'm going out to lunch now at the faculty club. Would you like to come to lunch with me?" I said, "Sure." So we go to lunch, and I ate my lunch. He drank his lunch, honestly.
Well, that
And he
might
said,
have been
"What?"
helpful to you.
It could have been. So I remember him saying, "Well, you're a nice young man, but teaching is the worst it's been since World War II. But if something comes up, I'll give you a call." The next day, I got a phone call. Somebody quit that night. I think there's some sort of karma going on here.
The universe was liking you that day. But that's amazing, and I
And
will
he called me up.
say,
He said, "Will you do it?" I said, "Of course I'll do it."
yeah. So I'm gonna say that that story of just walking in. So as somebody, I have kids that are looking for jobs, and I just sent a text this morning, and maybe it's an antiquated thought, but I just said clicking apply on Indeed is not an proactive way of looking for a job.
You got it.
And I said you have to do more, and I gave all different examples, but the idea, if I said to them, you need to walk in, and they would think I had 3 heads and came from a different planet talking to them, and they say to me, "You don't understand," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Okay." So, it's a great story, though. You just walked in and said, "I'd like to teach."
There was yeah, and I had no teaching credentials or teaching experience. There was a guy across the street from my office. He gave me the mortgage for my first house when it was 10.5%.
Ugh.
Banks weren't lending, and I just made $10,000. I mean, the whole thing was insane, but we needed a house because we were going to have a kid, the whole thing. And he gave me the money, and, everything worked out well. But I remember once we had lunch with a prospective client for him. And the guy said, "Well, I'm using somebody else now." And we left, and he said, "That was great." He said, "What do you mean you didn't get the client?" He said, "The sale begins with no. Every sale begins with no."
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that I have learned in life, and maybe a lot of the younger people haven't learned, is to be persistent. But even more than that, to be patient. You and I win cases because we are patient.
Mhm.
We don't expect the prosecutor just to flip or to lie down and say, "Okay, I'm wrong. Here's an apology from the officer." It doesn't work like that. But you have to be willing to, and the grind isn't the right word, but to drill down and to drill down and to drill down and if you keep hitting rock, and then all of a sudden, you got this. This is a great start. But it says this is what we do.
Right.
This is what makes you and me different.
Yeah.
Right? So I have seen a lot of police reports, investigation reports for DWI cases. You know what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a set of reports, investigation reports from the New Jersey State Police, and they look pretty much the same, except I've seen a subset of reports where for field sobriety testing, they list all the different scoring factors for each test. And I'm thinking to myself, why would a trooper take the time to input all that stuff? They're not typists. That's the last thing they want to do. They want to go out on the road and chase cars and do what policemen do, tell people what to do and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of occurred to me that they were cut and pasting from somebody else's report because all the stuff was there and was just like, so I was talking to the prosecutor. The last time I was in court, I asked for 3 prior reports from the same officer because
Mm-hmm.
I saw this format, and it was going to be in a hollow order, and the judge crossed it out. She didn't believe me. So I was in court today in person. I was preparing last night, and I'm reading over the narrative. God damn it, he forgot to change the name at the end of the report.
Oh my goodness.
At the beginning of the
Gold.
report, it was Mr. Smith, and at the end of the report, it was Mr. Jones. Now, I told the prosecutor, do you want to embarrass this trooper when he gets on the stand?
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, he's not credible. Well, that was because it kept looking. You drilled down. So the young people, and I know this, your podcast is incredibly popular with people between 19 and 25. But for those people, don't give up. Just keep drilling down and be patient. Everything doesn't come to you right away. Everybody has this idea they're going to go to work for JP Morgan. And the first year get $250,000 the first year, but move up, then 500, then 1 million, then 5, 10, 20 million. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's a jungle. You have to fight your way through it.
I also think
But
they don't really know what they want, young kids, in the sense
they want
of
money.
they do want money. I mean, don't we all? But I would say that the 20s, and I think this is true for every the 20s are figuring out what
Totally fair.
jobs excite you and what jobs don't. I mean, I say to people, try different things. If you try one and you're not happy, you're in your 20s. It's great that that that's not what's gonna that's not the career that you want to pursue or continue on. Um, I relate a lot of things to running, so like I constantly am saying like their 20s, it's like just the beginning of the marathon.
Sure.
And the marathon is 26.2, and so they have to pace themselves. But yeah, I think that that idea that you're going to get the dream job, your first job out. And I mean, I've told my kids, like when I graduated law school, I worked for a professor's husband who was starting a business this is going to be great when you hear it. He was a lawyer who left the practice of law, and he started a digital company.
Ooh.
And it ended up being a success, but the digital company was going to deliver case law directly to big law in the specific areas that they practice and would want. Now, this was innovative when I graduated law school.
Okay.
And I was helping them set it up and build the business. But part of that, and I was waiting for my bar results. I wasn't even I had graduated, but not barred. And I had to make cold calls and to law firms. And I did not know how much I hated a cold call.
Yes, it's horrible.
But I did it. I did it for a few months. And then, I said, thank you so much for the experience. It's just not right for me. And by the way, I learned so much of like what I like to do and what I did not like to do, and I was miserable, but I said to my kids, like, they see where I am now, but they didn't see the whole journey
Of course.
of how long it takes to become respected and recognized as an expert. And, I know you've argued in front of the Supreme Court. I've argued in front of the Supreme Court once as well, and how that's not even normal. Most people don't even get to the Supreme Court,
But one of the things that's really important to know, failure is okay.
Yeah.
You're going to fail. Everybody is going to fail at some point in time. The point is, what do you do when you fail? And you
Yeah.
keep trying. You keep trying. And if you fail, you figure out what I did wrong and then going from there. The other thing that's really cool that I really love doing is I like to work out problems.
Mhm.
Something that I can't discuss with you right now that I will discuss with you later, but I can't discuss it with you right now. But there's a big
Because we're
problem.
recording? Because
No,
we're recording?
no, it's something I will talk to you about it later, but I can't talk to you about it. No, I can't tell you after we stop recording, but I'll tell you the story later on. But I love trying to solve problems. I try to figure things out when other people can figure it out. They can't solve it, but everything can be solved. I mean, hopefully everything can be solved. You have to try.
Mhm.
I love the story of Apollo 13.
Mhm.
They're going to the moon and something blows up on the side of the thing. There's no repair service, no AAA that goes up there and fixes it, and they go off on. They're stuck. It's like once I drove up a mountain in where was it? It was in Europe, and there's no way off the mountain. I had to go for 2 hours. This tiny little road. There's no off ramp,
Mhm.
and it was 1,000 feet down. No, so it wasn't fun. I had
Couldn't
to
turn
change my
around.
clothes afterwards. It wasn't fun. But the point is, these people are up there in this capsule, and there's no one to come there to. There's no exit ramp. They've got to figure it out. And the takeaway from the whole thing, they did. They came back, but the takeaway was they worked the problem. They
Mhm.
kept working until they figured it out. And for people who are not where they want to be when they start out practicing, or for lawyers who have cases with stupid facts and how am I going to win this? How am I going to help this person?
Mhm.
Work the problem.
Yep.
And working the problem again means patience and persistence. Very rarely do you get a report where the names are the wrong names.
No.
It's
But
I got the guy.
yeah, but I'm gonna say that's the reading of every word of every report, and that's what good lawyers, when you're really working the problem and you're going through each of the documents, and
Yeah,
that is a level of meticulousness. Is that meticulousness?
yeah.
That
I understand what you mean.
that um you know, when you're really working a case and not just phoning it in. And that really is what makes the difference. And that is for criminal defense attorneys in municipal court or in superior court.
Sure.
Um, I had a case where my client was charged with a first-degree robbery. They found a gun on him. It seemed like the facts were really, really bad. We started looking through every single body cam, and it ended up that the alleged victim, there was no robbery. He said there was no robbery at all. He said that he was hit over the head with a bottle from someone, like, description didn't match my client. And I watched the video, and um, the officer took the original statement and folded it up and put it in his pocket, which, for those who don't know, is a destruction of evidence, and then had the victim rewrite the statement saying that the people went through his
Oh
pockets.
God, this is on
And
video.
it was on video. And not
No
only
bueno.
was it on video, we were able to stop the video and see what the original statement said. And really what happened was my client was cooperative with the police the whole time, and he was brought to the police station after being searched. But you know what they didn't find on him when he was prior to being searched?
A
They
weapon.
didn't find a gun on him. And then
Nah.
my client was at the police station and they didn't handcuff him. which you're
Mm.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
And my client was there for a good 30 minutes. And then he finally said to the officers, "Hey, I just want you to know I have a weapon on my person." And that officer who didn't handcuff him got in trouble and reprimanded. And
Yeah.
he was so mad. He was so mad.
Oh,
And all of a sudden, but there's hours and hours and hours of video. And if
yeah.
you don't go through every single video, and
Yes.
it was shocking. Like you would never imagine that it would occur, but not only that, it was on their body cam. Like,
Yeah.
and they just didn't, I don't
They're
know.
oblivious. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
I've
So,
had body cam where one officer turns to the other officer and says, "I didn't smell any alcohol, did you?"
yeah. But
And
I'm
in the report, he says he's, reeking of
smells
alcohol.
alcohol emanating of
Yeah.
alcohol because it's
20
the
feet
same.
away from the car. Yeah. That's what,
Yeah.
hit
So,
by it.
all right, I'm going to ask you some DWI questions right now.
Go.
Okay. First, one is about State versus Chun.
Don't let me digress. Whatever you do, don't, because I don't like to,
No,
don't let me digress.
I'm going to just focus on DWI for like
All right.
5 minutes, and
But
then
don't
we'll
let me
go back.
digress.
Okay.
Do not let me digress.
State versus Chun. Did you have any idea the impact that case and decision would have on DWI law while you were preparing, litigating, handling that matter? Because you would agree it became like, a landmark decision for DWI law.
What's really interesting is Chun was done twice.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Foley was the first time, and the state never appealed it, so it never got to a statewide court. Yeah, I mean, it was important because it was a new breath test machine, sure. But so these cases are very fact sensitive, and there's a lot of detail, and the hearing went on for substantial period. So you get sort of involved in that stuff. So you don't think about that much.
So, Chun was about the last Alka-Test machine. And we now have a new Alka-Test machine, a 9510.
We
and
do.
There's been some weird issues that have come up at the end of 2025 with and beginning of 2026, because there was, as you know, a case going through the system, Cunningham, that was challenging the 9510.
Yes.
And I actually know that case is dismissed, but I just heard recently that it might be resurrected, like the Phoenix.
Who told you that?
Somebody said that in court, and I was like, I don't think so. It was dismissed. So
Next question.
What do you think about what's going to happen with the new Alka-Test machine, the 9510? Do you think everyone's going to just challenge it individually? It'll be a race of who ends up having it.
I think there is and this is timely. So when somebody sees this a month later, it won't make any difference, or probably won't, right? I think maybe cooler heads will prevail, and the process that was begun before will start up again and resolve and go to a conclusion. That's my expectation.
Do you think people should be litigating the 9510 regarding whether it's scientifically reliable at this point?
Absolutely. It's essential. It's a new scientific device. It's a box with stuff in it. Like my scientific description of it, it's a box with stuff in it. Listen, you buy a box of cookies, you don't really know what's inside of it. So ask Bob Kennedy what's inside of it. He'll tell you. But
isn't that what the ingredient list is for?
Yeah. And you get a computer, chips and all that stuff, programming. It's who knows what. What was the question?
I said, do you think that every 9510 should be challenged regarding the reliability of it?
So there are different ways I could answer that question if it pleases the court. Yes, it should be challenged because, again, there's no way of knowing whether this thing, and I'm not going to be overly critical or try to what's the right word? Overstate the obvious. It's got to be shown that it stands on its own legs, that it's scientifically reliable, that it can be relied upon to provide evidence
Accurate
of guilt.
readings.
Evidence of guilt. I mean, if the box says, "Oh wait, you're guilty," right? As long as the test is administered correctly. But should people challenge it? Yes, of course. You can't accept it. I would say it's malpractice. Now, if you get an offer where the test results are going to be thrown out, where the court wants to move the calendar, and your client has a 2.5, well, it might be smart. Excuse me. It might be smart to take that because when push comes to shove, there will be some, but the device will be found to be scientifically reliable, subject to Supreme Court, tweaking. I think so. And so you might end up with that 2.5, and you don't want to end up with that 2.5. So it's not a bad idea to take advantage of the opportunity to get rid of the breath test result, which is what we try to do anyway when we're hired, right? We try to get rid of breath test results.
Right.
This is almost a gift.
It is a gift because it saves our clients money too, because they don't necessarily have to hire an expert to get the.
No, I don't believe in experts. I'm not an expert guy. I think that's a lot of. I was going to say something that I shouldn't say.
Like mumbo jumbo.
Ask me about experts next, but let me finish my answer to this. I feel strongly about experts, but I'll tell you what the story is. Now, so you have to challenge it, but there's another side to the coin. So there's a directive from the state attorney general's office that they want people who have challenged the device to be selected to be the new Cunninghams. Now, I challenged this in Monmouth County. I was one of the Cunningham defendants, attorneys. Not the defendant, the attorneys. And
the attorney for the defendant.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, counselor. So you can represent me anytime. I'll be very comfortable with your representation. The story is that for some reason they only wanted one defendant, one private defendant. It's Cunningham. The rest of us were cast aside. Fine. I was asked a month ago whether I wanted to get back in the case, and I said, no, thank you. No, I'm not going to jump in the middle of it.
Maybe that's what I heard.
Well,
maybe that's what somebody was trying to convey to me.
Right.
That
so if you do challenge it, you may be sucked into the next Cunningham case. But again, my thought, and I think I'm right about this, although this is all I think I should say about it. I think the old Cunningham case will be back on tracks and moving forward again. It's the only reasonable, logical approach to getting this thing done. Starting over again is illogical. It'll be another couple years.
Right.
And it doesn't
why
make
would
sense.
they want that when
What else can they do?
everyone's so concerned about backlog? And
what are their options? What
yeah.
are the alternatives? What else can they do?
So, all right, few more DWI cases. So people that are not DWI experts are going to be like, what are they talking about on the 9510? Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about expert. No bueno. No. Some cases, I mean, when people ask me if I have an expert report, I say no. Why not? I don't need an expert report.
You say I'm the expert, though.
They say that sometimes, and it's embarrassing. I don't like them to say that. The truth of the matter is, you don't need an expert to say that a field sobriety test is not administered correctly.
I love that your dogs are taking over this podcast.
Always do. They believe me, I can't get in bed because they sleep where my body's supposed to go.
Right.
I'll repeat what I just said so Tom can have something to do. Wake up, Tom. Wake up. So field sobriety test is not brain surgery. You look at the test, you know what the scoring factors are. You didn't instruct it correctly. Do I need to pay somebody $500, $600, $700, $1,500 to come to court and say, oh, you didn't do it right?
The experts now are not even asking for the $500-$600 for the report. They're asking for $1,000 or more. And
that's stupid. It's for people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And I also
I say that respectfully. But the truth of the matter is, most of the time they don't like to get on the stand. And any expert you get on the stand, a good prosecutor can tie him into a knot. Oh, you used to be an officer. You used to be a trooper. You would have arrested this guy, wouldn't you? I said, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
save the money. It's. I don't think you get the bang for the buck. I don't
Right.
believe that. I don't
So
believe that.
I'm going to tell you that now that plea bargaining is acceptable on DWIs, which
Legally, it's acceptable. Some judges still don't believe in it. So
right. Some judges and some prosecutors don't. So,
yeah,
so I'm going to this is my nerdiness of saying prior to 2024, plea bargaining was not allowed in DWI cases at all. In 2024, it is now allowed. Some courts still don't allow it. But prior to the plea bargaining, I had many prosecutors that would not accept throwing out a reading if it wasn't something blatantly obvious to them. And they felt like they needed the expert report in order to justify throwing
fair.
out the
No, it's fair.
reading.
That's fair. So I would say 20%, 90% of the time, the breath test results are going to go out because of 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody steps out of the room. You have the in-station video. He's there, and the last minute he walks out of the room and comes. Do I need an expert to say that?
Right.
It's on a video. I can take a picture off my screen
Right.
and show the guy walking out the door. My guy's sitting there by himself. What do I need an expert for? By the way, I don't think the plea bargain change the rule has made any difference, because in the past, the prosecutor always had an ethical obligation and you know this, not to prosecute when they couldn't prove their case. And that's what I would argue. It wasn't a plea bargain. You just can't prove your case. And I go, yeah, you're right. So the plea bargaining, the level, the oversight and all that stuff. Oh, you're a plea bargaining stuff. It comes and goes. There's different times and different judges go crazy about it. But I don't think it shouldn't have been the issue that it was.
I
But
don't
anyways,
either. I really never understood why, if I could negotiate and plea bargain homicides, that
yeah,
DWIs were precluded,
well, you got jury trials too, right?
you
For third
know.
offenses, and the client goes to jail. Our clients are presumed guilty until proven innocent. Also, I've heard some
Well,
people argue.
I think that that's a feeling that a lot of people have, not just in DWI, but, my clients that have been detained and haven't been found guilty of anything for an exorbitant amount of time would say that they have been presumed guilty, right?
I agree.
So, um, wow. So those were like my major DWI ask. I mean, um, I did have the plea bargaining ask, but you kind of answered it in the expert conversation, which is
Let me footnote that if a prosecutor says, "I'll do it if you get me a report," I'll get you a report.
right. I
But
mean,
I'm not gonna get the report beforehand and just you know. And by the way, those we talked about cut and pasting. Those reports are cut and pasted. Please,
they
sure.
are so much. But I would say to you, if an attorney sent a report with the wrong name on it, that's the
Yeah,
attorney's fault, because the
I agree.
attorney should be reading that expert report before they send it out and checking to make sure, And my staff has said to me, are we sending the report? And I'll say, nope, I haven't reviewed it yet. I just need to
Yeah,
make
for
sure,
sure. Yes. Now, there's
So
one sort of report that I think is really important in DWI cases. So I I try to explain to my clients my viewpoint that uh, this is all about persuasion, and this is something, by the way, we might talk about at a presentation sometime in the future. But
great.
if you know what
It's
I'm
on my
talking about,
calendar. It's
what's on
on
your
my
calendar?
calendar.
Yes. But I tell my clients there are different things that are persuasive. For example, I ask them to give me a statement about themselves so I can tell the prosecutor about them, and that the prosecutor might say, "I like this person. I want to help this person." I mean, just like, yeah, I see this person made a mistake. He's had a good life, the whole thing. But one thing that report is really important is I ask all of my clients, no matter what the level of the violation of the offense is, to go for alcohol evaluation and counseling, every single one.
Okay.
And I tell them there are 4 reasons to do it. One is it's the purpose of the exercise. You don't want to, if you find that this was because something was wrong, figure out what's wrong so it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Do that course correction that you need. Number two, your family, people that love you, are going to be very upset knowing that you're going for the help. Makes things better to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. Yeah. Number three, I once got an email from a guy, said he was a member of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. He saw my website and he went, how can you do that? How can you sleep at night? And I sent him an email back immediately. And I said, I send every one of my clients for evaluation and counseling. What do you do? And I never heard back from the guy. So
Right.
it's my due diligence. I'm helping a lot of people stay on the road, and I want to sleep well at night. I don't want to cut loose people that are going to cause mayhem on the highways. And then there's the fourth reason. I tell my clients, besides hiring an excellent lawyer, a great lawyer, the most important thing you can do to succeed in a DWI case is to go through this evaluation and counseling process, because it shows you have character. More than that, it shows the judge they can trust you. If they agree with you that the state can't prove its case, they don't have to worry that maybe their career's on the line if you kill somebody a month later.
Yeah.
And it's a headline on the newspaper. It's the right thing to do. I have one case. It's because I get a report from my counselor, and the trooper said no, and I said, take a look at this, and the trooper said, okay, I'll do it.
Right. So it's funny that you say that, because I do
After the
the
report is
alcohol
reported.
I do the alcohol evaluation for my client and tell them to do that, but I only do that if the BAC is over a certain level. But I
I do it
like
for everybody.
the
Yeah.
fact that you do it for everyone. Okay, this is my
I let the alcohol counselor do the evaluation. Yeah.
Mhm.
And decide whether, because there could be something there. It could be mixed alcohol, or the person might really want help, even though they're just a .09 or something, because they do this every night or whatever.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, so my last DWI question
Okay.
is this. This might be a little uh technical, but I always go back and forth on this one.
Okay.
Client is charged with a refusal and a DWI. You are able to resolve it with either the refusal to submit to the breath test
Mhm.
or the DWI.
Mhm.
I'm going to add they are U.S. citizens because
Uh-huh.
if they're not U.S. citizens, the answer is really easy of which of the
Right.
two to do.
Right.
And for those who want to know, the answer is the refusal to submit to the DWI.
Or
But
CDL driver. If you're CDL driver, it doesn't make a difference, right?
right. So my question to you is, because the penalties are less for a DWI initially than the refusal,
Mhm.
what do you do? Which do you recommend for your client? Or do you
Well,
give them the option of the two penalties and explain the pros and cons of both, which I also always do as well anyway, but you know.
some people believe that a refusal doesn't look as bad. I mean, a lot of people are afraid that when someone does a background search for their next job, this will look bad and it will be you know, hurt their ability to get the job that they want to get. But they think that refusal doesn't look as bad. It's not as toxic as the DWI. But it depends on the facts. So, and it's really hard to tell. But if you think your client is going to do this again,
Yeah, you have to do the refusal. It's a
sure,
no-brainer.
yes. And if you think, and by the way, you're paying for the intellect device, so the fines are, it's a little less expensive as far as the statutory fines and uh, surcharges, but you pay more for the interlock device. Yeah, if you think your guy's, just gonna do it again, then yeah, that's what I would do.
So do
I would
you
do it.
think it's a case by case? Because I think
Yeah,
I vacillate on it on almost every case with the clients.
yeah. So what I do is, I tell the client we will evaluate the discovery together. So I send them all the stuff. Then I'll have a conference, and I'm doing everything virtually now,
Mhm.
including the conference with the client to review the discovery. It works really well. I went out of my way before to make sure everything was in person,
Right.
but I don't anymore. And it
Because
works.
you can share the discovery and go through it and highlight it, on the screen if
Yes.
you're sophisticated on Zoom and able
Stop
to
now.
do that.
Stop.
But here's
But
the other thing. My clients are, a lot of them are tourists that came to Atlantic City or this area because they were visiting the shore. So yeah, I do a lot of it by Zoom as well.
not too
Preferred.
many Canadians anymore, huh?
Nope.
No
Nope.
bueno.
Yeah. So, all right. So thank you for letting me pick your brain on DWI.
Ow.
Are you
It hurt.
okay? Did I
No,
hurt
the
you?
pain is, yes, it's sore from being picked.
All
But that's
right.
okay. It grows back.
So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to finish with some advice you'd give younger lawyers considering municipal court, DWI defense, or even becoming a lawyer. You said only go to law school if you think you're going to love it, which is
How
great
do you know when
advice.
when you're 18 years old? I mean, the real shame is the punitive cost of going to law school.
Right. Well, you don't decide that at 18. It's usually 21, 22, right?
I know, but still, it's incredibly expensive. It's an amazing commitment when you have nothing to start with. You don't know what you're going to have available. It's scary, and it's too bad. What advice would I give young people? Oh, I told you what I told my daughter. Oh, so this is a great story. So she calls me up and says, "Daddy, I think I want to go to law school." And I said, "Well, don't do it unless you love it." And she says, "What do you want me to do?" And this is a kid who never asked me what I thought she should do. Very independent. When she applied to college, she didn't ask me what I thought about that college. She just applied to the college.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, by the way, she's doing great. We're very close. Everything's terrific.
But is she a lawyer?
Here's my story. So she gets a job with a firm in New York City. She was living in New York. She went to school in New York. She gets a job as a paralegal in a law firm that resolved disputes between financial institutions.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a trade or something, and it didn't go right. And so they would, represent parties to resolve the disputes. And 2 months later, she calls me up and says, "Daddy, I have a problem." And this young lady was very certain about everything, and she doesn't sound too good. She sounds like she's really shaken.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "Well, my partner just called me in. One of the firm's clients was asked by a big client to lend an attorney because somebody had just left the bank and they need somebody to cover till they hire somebody full time."
Mm-hmm.
You take any tax law in law school? You remember? Remember what LIFO was?
We had to take a tax class, and shockingly enough, I think I got the highest grade in my tax class.
I did well in taxes. I mean, I memorized the stuff, but
Right, because I think it's just following a lot of rules. But if you
yes,
ask me anything about taxes now, I mean, my accountant would laugh if I told her that I
yes,
got the
yes.
highest grade in tax.
LIFO was last in, first out.
Yeah.
She was the last one in for inventory, for determining the cost of inventory, the value. So she was the last one in. She's the first one out. So they send her over to someplace else. So, well, Gwen, what's the problem? I said, "Daddy, it's not a loss. It's not a legal job." She had this idea she was going to work at the firm. She's going to get relationships. They're going to recommend her to a great law school. She's going to get, this whole thing in her head. It's the way she thinks. She's very
Linear and practical.
Yeah, very, very, yes. Yes. So I said, "Who's the employer?" She said, "Morgan Stanley." I said, "It'll look fine on your resume. Don't worry." 2 months later, she gets hired full time.
Uh-huh.
A year later, she's living in Shanghai, opening up a financial exchange office. While she was at Morgan Stanley, she meets her husband.
Mm-hmm.
She comes back, gets her graduate degree, master's degree in business administration, her MBA, and never looked back.
There you
So
go.
door opens, the door closes. Door opens, door closes. Just keep going and going and going. And there's a, I want to tell you one more story. I know we're coming to the end. This sort of puts it all together. You never know what's going to help you or what's going to hurt you in life.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to take advantage of the things that come your way. So here I am building up a practice in DWI law, and I was getting pretty well known in Central Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Middlesex. I was doing Monmouth, Somerset. Pretty much that quarter. A lot of courts, a lot of cases. One day I had a case where my client fell asleep. He was a tech guy, and he was going back and forth to these companies fixing their computers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in Piscataway, and he goes to this bar restaurant, and he's traveling around. He's by himself. You've been on the road. It's lonely. I've gone on business trips. Sounds cool. Somebody's paying you to go hotel and everything, pay for dinner. It's lonely. It's lonely. So he goes to his bar, and he comes out to his car, and he says to himself, "I shouldn't be driving. I'm drunk."
Mm-hmm.
It's the middle of the winter. Turns the motor on, turns the heater on, reclines the seat, goes to sleep. Well, the Supreme Court said that's not that's not operation. That's all good. We won the case, it was dismissed. But before the hearing, he said, we didn't have a hearing, we just resolved it. But before we go to court, he says, "I have these two friends. I'd like you to meet them." These two guys. I say hello. He said, I said, "What do you do?" He said, "We build websites." I said, "What are websites?" He said, "You want a website?"
Yeah.
"Ah, website." All of a sudden, I was getting clients from all over the state of New Jersey, and people who had money because they had computers, because they were technical. And it just changed my world. I went from being a local guy, a regional guy, to a
To
statewide guy.
yeah.
And it was all fortuitous. I was in the right place at the right time,
Or you had the right client. But you know what's amazing is
but it just
that,
fortuitous.
yeah,
There's no
you're
plan to that. It just happened.
right. But you're telling the story of the client sleeping in the car outside the bar, which
Yep.
is like, also a landmark case of the
Yeah.
difference between, sleeping in the car with the engine on and why in a parking lot of the bar, it's not driving. And when you're sleeping it off on the parkway,
Well,
right?
it's a different
You
type
know,
of operation, but
but
yep.
yeah, so you just dropped a landmark case, and then at the same so you did that, and then you're like, oh, and then he introduced me to two people and mentioned the World Wide Web, and I had no idea what that was about,
I had
and
no idea. Never heard. I mean, I'd heard of it, but I don't. I'm not technologically forward.
hmm but you're
I'm
not a
glad I've lived.
Luddite. You're clearly not a
I'm not a
Luddite.
Luddite. I am not a Luddite. Maybe a Lettermanite, but not a Luddite. But here we got this thing going. That was good, right? I didn't need an IT guy to get me going or an IT gal, but it just happened. It was like meeting the right person to spend your life with, or becoming the prosecutor, or
It's
it's crazy. And
it's a really good example of like one business decision really can change the trajectory. And I'm going to
yeah,
say this might sound silly, but when I was creating my website, this pink, that you see
that's gained my
everywhere,
attention.
it generated and when I was creating it and I
I
was
got to ask you a question though. What were you thinking about? You've got these criminal defense, and I say that respectfully. You've got these people who are robbing banks and stealing things and doing drugs, and they go to the site and there's all pink, sort of
so of
flowery
course
stuff.
all my clients are not
What's the
guilty.
logic? What's the logic there? Besides, I get the DV stuff, I get that, but I said, my
I'll
God,
I'll tell you what it is that
well,
this
what is it?
pink, this powerful pink, this strong pink
Yeah,
color was generated. And I thought about it for about 24 to 48 hours before I really decided to go with it and create my logo. And it's a single decision. And it was, I am a woman-owned, woman-run law firm. And
okay.
most criminal defense law firms, how many, honestly, certified criminal trial attorneys do you know that are private, women-owned, like women-run law firms in the
No, I
state?
understand. No,
Yeah.
I
And
understand.
so all the logos I've seen of most attorneys are blue, dark gray,
Right.
navy, black, right?
It
Maybe
works. It works.
maybe
But
orange
I just wondered what the thinking was, knowing that these people are not gentle, aesthetic
I
oriented,
really wanted it to
garden
be
people.
noticeable, memorable, and and easily identifiable. And it started with just a logo. I can
Yeah.
show you the original logo.
The
So
M?
original, it wasn't just the M. So at the time, my full name was Melissa Rosenblum Pizetzner, and
Mhm.
my middle name is Elaine, which is what MERP comes from.
Okay.
And that was my original logo.
At
And
first, I thought I was dealing with a large pharmaceutical company. Merck.
is it MERP? It's
It's
not
Merck.
MERP. It's
No, I got
Merck.
confused.
Yeah,
It's Merck.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it generated, and then I I had started giving out these pink pens, and every once in a while I would wear pink, and it within 6 months blew up as a brand. I mean,
Cool.
it was, people would see pink pens at the bars or at the dry cleaners, and they would take pictures of it. And the truth is, if I go to court now and I am not wearing something easily and quickly identifiable as pink, it's the first thing people say. Wait, what? No pink? Where's the pink? And when I walk out of court and someone says, can I have your business card? Or if somebody calls me, they say, I saw you in court, you were wearing the pink, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's been amazing. It's amazing how that one little decision, created this whole brand that makes people be able to identify me really easily.
There's a retired corporate guy who was involved with marketing for big companies, and I was asking him about marketing, helping us with marketing with our law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Charlie, what's the secret? I never forgot what he said. Point of differentiation. Point of differentiation. And that's what you do when you brand yourself with the pink. You're different. You're unique, and it's you. It's not anybody else. And if you're just not part of the herd. You're
Correct.
You're way out there somewhere.
But I tell people that if they're going to do something that's a little out of the box, it's got to be authentic to them. You can't, and it is. I like pink, as you can see by my nails. I look a little sparkly, but I also am, a fighter and powerful, and people see all of that together of not being, a wallflower, which you can't do in court,
Okay. All right. I'm satisfied.
Whew.
Not pink, but
so
colors.
Yeah.
Is it magenta? Is that what it is?
Oh, I can't see. You have to.
I forgot where the thing is.
There, it is magenta. It is magenta.
Yeah, I like colors.
Yeah,
keeps me away.
If I woo you away from Lamora Law at all, sometimes you're required to wear pink at my office just to let you know.
Okay. No fingernails, though. I'm not going to do the fingernails.
No, that's not required. No,
Okay,
that would be wrong.
Fine.
So let me just say thank you so much for coming on Mighty MERP. And
thank you so much.
And we'll do this again because this was a great conversation. And I
just have one complaint.
Oh, no.
One problem. Yes, it went too fast.
Well, you'll be back. You'll be back. And I'll see you in February. All right. Thank you.
Bye, Liz. Thanks a lot. It was fun. Have a great weekend.
One of the best ways to support Melissa and the Mighty MERP podcast is to go to our YouTube page, find the subscribe button, open the menu, and click the bell icon so you actually get alerts when we post new episodes or shorts. For any questions or interest in podcasting, go to legalpodcasting.com.